Coming up on today's show is the NFL looking to reach a settlement with Deshaun Watson. We're going to explore that. Plus, an interesting rumor out there that Deshaun Watson will receive a 6-game suspension. We're going to unpack all that. Plus, we'll wrap up the show on a more lighter note, as Myles Garrett was busy at the, well, we'll save it for the end. But first, if you have not subscribed already, please go ahead and do so. The 10K train has been rolling along, and we are less than 350 subs away. Make sure you hit that sub button to start today's show. What's going on, Browns fans? Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here on a pretty busy Monday, right? I mean, a lot of interesting things came out over the weekend, so I just want to round them all up and start breaking them down one by one, because we got some major updates on the Deshaun Watson front, some interesting rumors out there about whether or not he could be looking at a 6-game suspension. Plus, Josina Anderson, she just starts the day off with dropping some bombshells of tweets in the most cryptic way possible, and God forbid she threads them. But here's what Josina said this morning. We all woke up to her tweet saying, post-hearing briefs are due soon this week in the Deshaun Watson proceeding. This morning, a league source said this on the timeline for a result. We're still looking at a few weeks before we get a decision. It may not be before camp. Sue Robinson will take her time. So we've got some interesting stuff come from Josina and some maybe conflicting ideas of when a decision could come. Now, Anderson also added the NFL is currently limiting their scope to 4 women. Last week, we thought it was 5 women, so I don't know if one got pushed out because it really didn't help with the credibility of their case or whatnot. I think what the NFL is probably doing here in their presentation to Judge Robinson, or what they did last week when presenting to Robinson, was they don't want to include any black sheep that might not have, that might have some holes in their story that could sink the whole ship. So they're taking the best cases possible and just ignoring the rest, even though 24 sounds like a big number, and why wouldn't you present all that for the most damning result possible if you're the league? Well, you don't want to include any cases that aren't very tight, and all of a sudden the NFL, Watson's attorney, could start poking holes at that and bring it all down. Now, Josina also added this. I think this is an important tweet to share, and it's an interesting one. League source on the threshold League source on the threshold of proof expected to be applied by Sue Robinson in review of Deshaun Watson's case. The NFL has the burden of proof, and it is the preponderance of evidence, and there is no dispute about that. There is precedent in case law that establishes it. I have no idea what that means. But luckily, I'm sure you're not alone. You also are with me like, all right, in English? Well, Josina included this tweet about what Cornell law says about what that means. All right, here's what preponderance of the evidence is. Preponderance of the evidence is one type of evidentiary standard used in a burden of proof analysis. Under this standard, burden of proof is met when the party with the burden, which is the NFL here, convinces the fact finder, Judge Robinson, that there is a greater than 50% chance that the claim is true. Cue in the Michael Scott moment. Explain this to me like I'm 5, because even then I'm still not really understanding what it means. But in English, it is up to the NFL, not Watson his side. It's up to the NFL to prove over a 50% chance that these claims are true and Watson is guilty. So the burden is on the league to present enough to Robinson, hey, there is a greater than 50% chance that what we are saying is true. If they can't meet that threshold, then it's likely going to be no suspension, no punishment for Deshaun Watson, right? If the league proves, and I don't know how you really quantify this or give it a percentage, but in the court of law, they throw out a 40 burger and it's like 40% true, then Robinson's going to go, nope, you had to get to 50, so nothing for Watson. At least that was my takeaway. If we got any lawyers watching, I'm not a lawyer. That's pretty obvious. So if you want to help me out here or help everyone else out in the comments and break this down even more for me and Michael Gary Scott, please go ahead and do so. Before we get to more on the Watson front, I'm sure you guys have seen this, but Heinz Field is no more. Like, immediately no more. The new stadium is Acrisure. It sounds like someone had a stroke when typing this out. It's a a insurance brokerage company based out of Michigan. I don't really know what it means. I don't really care. But just spam Pitt, like F Pitt. Fuck the Steelers. I have no idea what this company is, and it's one of the worst stadium names now in the NFL. So just spam F Pitt down below if you hate the Steelers and you can't wait to watch Watson go in there. And it'll be weird not saying Heinz Field anymore, but go in there and dominate Trubisky or the Pickett Steelers, whatever it may be. We got more on the Watson rumors here. So yesterday or last night in Twitter Spaces, always a great time. If you haven't joined, highly recommend you do so. Offseason Chopz. But Chopz was saying the NFL is pushing for a settlement with Watson before they get a Robinson decision. So does that seem to me, does that signal maybe the NFL is not confident in getting a big enough suspension for Watson from Robinson, so they're going to try to reach a settlement to guarantee more games? Now, Watson has continued to reportedly to reject these settlements and not want to engage in a 10 or 12 game suspension. He wants to wait and see what Robinson says. So he's going to roll the dice that she will offer a lesser sentence. All right, more stuff. We got some interesting rumors out there about a 6-game suspension. So you may have seen this on Twitter over the weekend. Scott Allen Hill kind of stole Brown's Twitter when he dropped a bit of a bomb saying, per source, it's all right, Watson will be suspended for 6 games. That's that. Now, he has followed those tweets up. This was on July 8th, so 3 days ago, with a couple more tweets just doubling down on there will be a decision. There will be 6 games. He even said it's going to come on Wednesday. And Brad Stainbrook, who does a great job of covering the Browns, reached out to his sources in Berea and tweeted out saying, no, I have not seen this. And Scott Allen Hill doubles down once again, quote tweeting him saying, no, it's going to be 6 games, and you're all going to find out on Wednesday. So let's just go under this theory of 6 games. Whether or not Scott Hill is being honest, or whether or not this source he has is true, or he's just got dumb luck and it ends up being 6 games. If Jacoby Brissett is the starter for the first 6 weeks of the season, I think it's a 4-2 record for him. Now, there's one glaring result right there that I'm sure has a lot of people up right now upset. But under Brissett, I think they can win in Carolina. They can take care of business against the Jets at home. They can beat the Steelers on Thursday Night Football, start the season 3-0. And I know it doesn't make any sense for them to lose to the Falcons, who will be one of the worst teams in football this year. But I can kind of picture it right now, coming off a high, beating the Steelers at home on Thursday night, maybe overlooking a winless Falcons team, getting ready for the Chargers at home in Week 5, revenge game from last season, and the horrible pass interference call, and they end up stumbling in Atlanta. And it's one of those any given Sunday moments where you're like, yep, didn't make sense, but the Falcons won. I know it doesn't make sense right now, but that's like that's the beauty of the NFL, the league of parity, and a win against New England at home in Week 6. But over or under time, let's bring this game back on the show. Over or under 6 games for Watson if he is suspended. I used to be in the camp of 8 games, and I'm not leaving that 8-game camp, but I've definitely come a lot closer to 4 games. Whereas if it is a 6-game suspension, I'm not going to really be all that taken back based on how things have gone for Watson in his hearing with Robinson and just the NFL not putting together a case of violence or threats and not really having proof or evidence that proves he violated the integrity of the league. All right, later on in the show, by the way, just a little teaser for everyone watching, Myles Garrett, is he joining the Cleveland Cavaliers? Might be. The Browns might be losing their greatest defensive player of all time. Very sad news. We're going to get to that in just a moment. But first, our proud sponsor today is Rumble. If you haven't checked us out on Rumble already, I don't know what you're waiting for. We've got the #2 channel here at Chat Sports. I'm a competitive guy, so I want to catch up to the Chiefs at #1, and I want to lead all the NFL team channels we operate at Chat Sports over in subscribers at Rumble. Follow us, rumble.com/Browns Report. It's another video platform service very similar to YouTube. Make sure to check us out over there. Let's get back really quickly to this side of the story of a decision coming soon, because an interesting article from Chris Easterlin, who now runs the Brown side of things over at the Akron Beacon Journal, saying, hold your horses to this random Twitter guy saying we're getting a decision on Wednesday. All right, Chris writing, the post-hearing briefs, as mentioned before, aren't due until the week of July 11th. not on July 11th, but the week of July 11th. Robinson isn't going to simply breeze through those briefs. She's going to meticulously study them and add them to the pile of things to consider for her decision. So you're probably looking at another week after those are filed for her to likely render a decision, which of course isn't the final step in the process. So now we've got a bit of a pushback here between a good amount of people that are, and rightfully so, believing, hey, the final written briefs are due this week, July 11th. She's going to take her time. Apparently, there's a 5-page max, so shout out to college, right? 12-point font. Times New Roman was always way smaller than Arial, so bump that up right there. But anyway, then we've got this guy, Scott, saying, nope, we're getting a decision on Wednesday. So we'll find out on Wednesday who's right, but I'm leaning more towards the latter. Now, Mike Florio adding this in his latest Pro Football Talk article, saying, a decision could come at any time. I'll be watching the week of July 25th, with the possibility of a decision coming on Friday, July 22nd. If she generates a ruling too quickly, it may seem rushed. She needs the public to understand and accept her findings and reasoning. Part of achieving that is to just wait long enough so that people will believe that she spent enough time working on it. All the reports, like Mike is saying here, is July 25th to the 30th. Feels like a good timeline, and that's what I kind of think too, honestly. Browns training camp opens up on the 26th, so I'm thinking that's where we're going to get a decision. This random guy on Twitter who has a source that believes it'll be 6 games and we'll know Wednesday is so confident. I don't know. We'll file that in our, remember this file if it's a freezing cold take later on, but I don't really have much weight and I don't have a lot of credibility in this guy, so I'm not going to hitch my wagon to him, but I'm thinking 25th to the 30th. Like we all just said, the post-hearing written briefs are due this week. She's going to take her time. She's a former U.S. district judge. She knows a thing or two about reading all this kind of legal mumbo-jumbo, so I'm not expecting her to rush a decision. Now, here's a random question I've got for everyone, but I'm really curious to see what everyone says. So please comment below, who has the best Watson coverage? I'm not talking like amongst YouTubers, but just in general, who has been sort of your go-to person, whether it's like Josina Anderson tweets or Mike Florio. Who has been the person you're like, all right, I want to get caught up. What's going on? This has been the person I've gone to. Curious to see what everyone's saying. And plus, if you're looking for more places to get Watson news, subscribe here, of course. But also, that could be a good spot to check out. All right, last up on the show. Here's a picture of Myles Garrett in a Cavs uniform. He was at the NBA Summer League game just yesterday, last night on Sunday night, and he was throwing down some haymakers. He was dunking the ball all over the place. I'm sure Stefanski did not enjoy that. Like the rest of us did, you know what I'm saying? But Stefanski probably wants him in bubble wrap and not anywhere near a basketball. Like Stephen A. on SNL, Myles Garrett should be locked in a small closet where there are no basketballs or no round objects of any kind. But it did get me wondering, what would a starting 5 lineup look like for the Browns? Here's what I went with. You can disagree. Put your own starting 5s down there. But I think you have Watson running the point, right? John Johnson, I think, is a hooper and just kind of looks like a hooper from when he tweets and whatnot. Then you got your center, Marcus Santos Silva. He's that UDFA signing who played college basketball at Texas Tech. You got to get Myles Garrett on the floor, so put him at power forward. And Njoku, the Chief, he's one of just the best all-around athletes on this team, so he'll definitely crack the starting lineup. I've got DPJ on the bench along with Cooper. JOK, if you watch Building the Browns on YouTube, he did not look very good at basketball, but he can be the Scalabrini of this team. A little bit of comedic relief. Denzel Ward, decent length too, so I just figured he's a good athlete. Why not toss him on there? And Clowney to add some extra height to this bench as well. One last nugget on the show. I'm not sure if you guys saw this. There's been a lot of jokes out there about Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah taking number 6 this season from you-know-who, because this is what JOK wore in college. So let's open it up to everyone watching. This will be the last question of the show. Should a player on the Browns wear number 6 this year? Or should it, linger for a year or two and not just immediately pounce on, I'm not going to say his name, but yeah, Baker's old number? Y for yes, N for no. Where I stand on this is if someone does take number 6 this year, I think that's going to be another big peek behind the curtain of where the Browns locker room really stood on Baker. Because if they loved him and he was their quarterback and it was just business and they wanted to get an upgrade at the QB spot, I don't think they would look to dig into his old, start bringing up the past really quickly. But if they're like, good thing Baker's gone now, yeah, it'd be funny if someone wore number 6. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us on today's show. I appreciate everyone watching for making us a part of your day. Make sure you follow me on Twitter if you're not already, at Matthew Petey. I'll be tweeting Browns news and rumors updates over there. But until next time, go Browns.